Welcome, I'm Lizzie Brooks and this is Lizzie Brooks Yoga and Fitness. Thank you so much for showing up today. Today's class is a tutorial for arm balances. So there are tons of arm balances in yoga and I'll go over a few, crow and crane, which can go hand in hand, also forearm crow, and then possibly Ostava Krasana. But what I really want to do here is give you things, tips and tricks that will help you in whichever arm balance you're doing so that you are equipped with those skills. Part of the issue with arm balances is that there's a factor of fear. So, okay, if I do this one, am I gonna fall on my face? This kind of thing. So actually, it's great when people give you physical instruction about, okay, you put your knee here, here's what you do with your core. But if we don't get a little bit more comfortable and give you things to do that address the fear, then it's really hard to get these postures down. So if you have a blanket or a towel, I recommend grabbing that because that's actually part of releasing some of the fear. Same thing if you can be near a wall, and if you have blocks or maybe a little step stool or something that can give you a little height, go ahead and grab that. So you can pause the video and bring those things and come back. You don't need them, but they might be helpful. Okay, so I'm going to grab my blanket here and show you how the blanket comes in. It comes in because you can put it in front of you if that's the direction you're doing. Say you're doing a crow or crane. What I will tell you is I never want you to put your hands on the blanket, okay? The blanket has a lot of give, right? It's cushion. So you want to be on that firmer yoga mat, not a big padded one, or on like a hardwood floor. So your hands can go underneath the blanket and still be just fine. Now, a lot of you who have practiced with me over and over, you know about the diamond shape. You know the core diamond shape, but not all of us do. That core diamond shape comes into play in all of the arm balances because yes, there's core work and arm balances. It's not all core. A lot of it is actually weight distribution techniques and physics that just allow you to lift more easily. So if someone tells you, oh, well, arm balances, they're all core, not necessarily. We can make them easier by shifting our bodies in certain ways because the head weighs something, the pelvis weighs something, the leg weighs something. And if we change the relationship to each other, it can make these easier. Having said that, that core work is necessary. If you've heard a yoga teacher say, pull your navel back, pull your belly button back, that's fine, but it's not going to draw as much support as if you drew from the top of your pubic bone to your low ribs to your sternum and you drew that back. So let's do a little test. Come to a seated position, whatever one you want. Inhale and exhale, just pull your belly button back. Inhale. And shake that out. Now, because I gave you the clue before you did it, you probably garnered a little bit more support than usual because you know where we're going, but just humor me. Now, we'll pull the diamond shape back. Inhale, exhale, pull the diamond shape back. Inhale, and sigh that out. So you can play with that a little bit, but hopefully you felt a little more support for that whole core structure as you're drawing your organs towards your spine, which is what we want. So we're going to use that in all of the arm balances. Now, I'm going to start with that crow and crane and bring in what I said about weight distribution. So a lot of people, so I would recommend for anybody, if you have any fear, put that blanket or towel in front of you, something a little softer, put your hands underneath it. The hands are gonna be just maybe 3 millimeters on each side wider than the shoulders. They don't have to be right under, but maybe slightly wider, okay? You're going to lift up, walk in, and I would recommend watching this video before you do these with me so you can see. I really want your eyes on this so it will kind of click for you, okay? I'm going to show this in a few ways. I'm on my tucked toes. I'm going to lift my hips high and I'm going to walk really close in. Now, if I just try to throw myself into this, I'm not making a good connection high up on my arms. That will also have to do with your hip mobility. But if I start way low on my elbows and then I try to lift, I might just slide down. I want to make more of a shelf and a connection right kind of at that bony prominence at the knee, right where the shin and knee meet, and as high up to my arm as I can. And I don't want to have those in a straight line, but I want to actually make a little bit of an X shape. So it would be harder to balance something like this than like this, right? So I'm going to lift up, walk close in. Then I'm going to take my time and really see if I can make an X shape way up high on that arm. Now, if all I try to do here is lift my feet, I'm not going anywhere. If all I try to do is lift my feet and draw my core back in that diamond shape, I'm not going anywhere. The only thing that's going to allow that to happen is to integrate those two things, but then allow myself to come more tiptoe, 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 and allow my shoulders to shift much more forward and my head to shift much more forward. Watch how the feet, because I shifted forward, were able to rise up. Once they were able to lift a bit, then I pull them in towards my sitting bones even more and maybe straighten my arms. Straightening the arms is crane pose. Having the elbows bent is crow. I actually find straightening them is easier because holding your body weight with the bent arms is pretty tough. So you can play between the two. But the main thing I want you to allow yourself to do, and that's why we have the blanket there, is to shift your shoulders forward. Then integrate that a little more core work, and then the ankle lift towards the sitting bones. But without the weight shift forward, this is what you'll probably see, and it might feel like something you're used to. Like, why won't that come up? Oh, because I didn't move. I'm not balancing the weight coming forward. Another thing you can use, like I mentioned, was we can use props. I think I mentioned it. I don't know. I've made a lot of videos today. We can actually, to get higher up on the arm, you can actually come up onto a block or something of height, and then just lift up, and that already allows you, instead of being down here, to be a little higher, then shift forward, and maybe just play with one set of toes down, then the other, and it's just kind of like the big toe ball joint until you're ready to lift both up. I did mention a wall earlier. You can do the head on the actual wall, and I'm going to show you from this very funny angle, but I'm going to do the same activity with my head on the wall. See how easy it is for me to lift my feet up? It's because I have no fear of coming forward and I'm stabilizing myself against the wall. So it's not the forehead, but more so the center of the head on the wall. These lovely walls can be used for a lot of helpful support for our arm balances. Now, I didn't mention side crow before at the beginning, but I do want to go over that a little bit because of the wall and because of the block. Without telling you anything, I'm going to show you. So first of all, I'm going to show you side crow. Side crow. All right, now I'm going to show you the same posture with complete support of the wall, and my shoulder is on a block, so I'm not actually having to hold my weight because I'm putting my weight onto the block. This placement is a little tough sometimes. You kind of got to come in and out a little bit and see, okay, do I need to move that here, here? But the basic premise, and you'll want to do some twisting work before to prepare and some spine work, is that you come up to your toes, and I'll show you using just the wall here now. You come up to your toes, toes are tucked. You're going to twist away from the wall, okay? And then hunker down. This is where I was telling you earlier, you really want to take time in the setup. So you're getting as high up to the arms as you can, then allowing your other arm, now there's two ways to do this. You can either have one arm on the hip and one arm on the outer knee, or take it off. For today's purposes, I'm doing a double support, so you're actually on the hip. Hands come down, and they're pointing in the direction that you're going to be sending your body weight over to the side. Then from here, I'm just gonna find the wall with my toes, bend my elbows 90 degrees, and voila, here I am. So much easier to have the wall. And then it's the same thing by putting a block sort of diagonal and putting the shoulder on the block for that positioning. And again, just for, you know, S's and giggles, I will show you, you can do side crow, and I might not be in the frame there, so I'll show you here. You can do side crow with just one elbow and the other elbow off. The first one takes more of an ability to twist, but it's easier to stabilize. The second one, less ability to twist, but more upper body work. There's a lot going on there. For things like Ostava Krasana, this is one that the reason why I'm including it today is because I see so many people who are like seconds away from having it, but are trying to do one thing that's really impossible to do, and they're trying to take their legs to the side, but that's not going to work. So Ostava Krasana is, first of all, you never do Ostava Krasana unless you have opened your hips and prepped the wrists and all that kind of stuff. But pretend that we've done an entire practice. I know all of you have. And you take one arm over the shoulder. I would never just teach this like this, by the way. This is just for the purposes of showing you one thing within this pose. Leg goes up and over, hand down, and then from here, you're actually going to draw your ankles into L shapes and let them connect. So that's the first thing I see sometimes, is that people don't really connect the ankles, and they're not creating a closed circuit. So it's very, very hard to keep them connected and push them to straight, okay? So that's the first thing. The other thing is, a lot of times people are like, okay, well, here I am, but like I'm trying to go my legs to the side, and it's like I can't straighten that top leg. Oh, well, don't go to the side. Kick your legs forward, not to the side, and you'll be able to straighten the legs more than if you're kicking them to the side. So sometimes when I just tell my students, no, bring your legs forward, and they do it, they go, oh. Also, the bringing of the legs forward helps lift the pelvis off the ground a little bit more. Therefore, we've got that physics happening, weight distribution technique happening. So for forearm crow, Forearm Crow is a really good one for people who are just like, I'm so afraid of falling that I really don't want to attempt these arm balances. Forearm Crow is the closest one to the ground. It almost looks like you're not even flying at all in your arm balance, but you indeed are. So I would master either this one first and then regular crow or crane, or crow or crane first and then this one. And I would always use that blanket for those initial crow or cranes. Now you can do this with the blanket as well, but you'll be even closer to the ground because you've lifted the blanket towards you. Your forearms go down on the ground. You're in a Malasana Squat with the heels lifted. You lift the hips and walk the feet in. Okay, now this is where you do the same exact technique as you did in the classic crow, where you're making an X shape as much as you can, and you're coming as high up to the upper arms as you can. Then you're going to allow your shoulders to come towards your wrists, and then you're going to lift your toes, point in the back, and you're hovering. So I'm going to show you without the blanket, because it almost looks like I was just laying on the blanket. Okay, so hips high. So a lot of people, they try to come up. Well, that's not coming up because your shoulders are almost closing on your wrists, but you're not going to allow that. So the weight distribution technique is drawing the head and the shoulders forward and then pointing the toes back, or else you'll still be on the ground, and hovering here. Now that X shape isn't as obvious as when your arms are straight or in 90 degrees, because you're down here. So you've got a little more of your shin on that the back of your upper arm. So I hope those were helpful. I'm going to create more arm balance tutorials that are specific to each arm balance. So please put in the comments which arm balances you are most interested in or have questions about, and I can make tutorials for those. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Namaste.